Merry Christmas. Thank you. It's a very pleasant phrase, isn't it? But it really doesn't embody what we're doing here today at all. It's far greater than Happy Holidays. Happy Holidays is an attack on Christ to remove him from his very season, so please don't use that phrase ever. But Merry Christmas, to me, I think more of a fat, jolly Santa Claus having a bourbon. That's what Merry Christmas to me sounds like. It is not at all what we're celebrating. How fully do you comprehend the significance of God becoming human and born of a virgin? And though many are quite familiar with the beautiful, humble story of Christmas and the birth of Jesus, that familiarity can have the surprising negative effect of keeping our intellect from deeply probing the depths of the meaning of what we celebrate. And it is a great depth. In the gospel today, we hear that Mary kept all these things, reflecting on them in her heart. And what a beautiful line to ponder this Christmas day. Our Mother Mary was the one person who would have understood the mystery of the birth of her son, of Jesus, the Savior of the world, far more deeply than anybody else. It was to her that the archangel appeared announcing her pregnancy and his birth. It was to her who carried the Son of God in her womb, in her immaculate womb for 9 months. It was to her that Elizabeth, her cousin, cried out, "Most blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb." And it was Mary who was the Immaculate Conception, preserved from all sin throughout her entire life. And it was her who gave birth to this child, carried him in her arms, and nursed him at her breasts. Our Blessed Mother, more than any other, understood the incredible event that had taken place in her life, and yet she continued to keep all these things in her heart, reflecting upon them. So one of the things this tells us is that even Mary, the mother of Jesus, needed time to ponder, reflect, and savor these holy mysteries. She never doubted in her faith, but continually deepened and let her heart ponder and go into the unfathomable, incomprehensible mystery of the incarnation. If you really think about it at its core, deepest core level, the Trinity is pure spirit. And the second person of the Trinity left heaven to go on a rescue mission for us. If you've ever doubted that you're loved, ponder this mystery, because he left heaven, pure spirit, took on a human body in the womb of Our Lady, and then being birthed into this world in the most simple and humble way, by choice, to show us how to live perfectly as human beings. But the reason he came was to die. He is the only person who had a vocation to die. And it was by his death that we are given new life. And then, this again, think about it, when he ascends to his Father after his resurrection, he enters into heaven with a body. He left with no body. He comes back with a body. Look, Dad, I'm back. And look, I have a body. And that body ascends to the throne of God. So there is a divine human person with a body sitting on the throne with one of our bodies. That's how much he loves us. The angels were just overwhelmed by this. They couldn't take in the fact that God would do something this humbling to save us. And in fact, a third of those angels exited. They refused to obey or honor this plan. They now are known as the demons, with Satan as their leader. But it was because he took on a body. So it's an awesome mystery, and it's a mystery that is worthy of a deeper contemplative prayer time. Through these, the day of Easter is 8 days long, by the way. It's an octave. So we have 8 days of celebrating Christmas, not Easter, of the Nativity. And then we have the season that extends out for a few more weeks. So there's plenty of time to go deep into this mystery of his birth. And we should do it. Now, when we consider pondering this story ourselves and reflecting on it, on the night that divinity is revealed as Jesus in a stable, the things of the earth were shaken and stirred with a fresh glory and awesome wonder. like to the point where angels appeared in the sky. Angels left their stations in heaven and came to earth to sing and glorify God over the presence of just a few meager shepherds. You know, shepherds were really not considered very important 2,000 years ago, although they were. And Jesus and the Father seemed to have a special place in their heart for shepherds because they continually chose shepherds throughout the course of salvation history. But that's what happened. They illuminate the sky, praising God, celebrating the arrival of the long-awaited Messiah. And as I said, they left their veiled existence to speak and sing over a few lowly shepherds in the field. What is happening? Wait a minute, what? Angels are appearing in the sky, singing and glorifying God? Yes, it was that big an event. They're announcing the good news with great joy, and they came to herald the gift that is Jesus, this little baby wrapped in swaddling clothes in this very poor manger, literally in the trough where the animals ate. You really can't get much lower than that. To think that God would lower himself to that degree. You know, when we think of the leaders of our world today, you know, we don't really have kings anymore. There's a few figureheads over in Europe, but basically kings are over. But presidents, they like the pomp and circumstance. They like the fanfare. They like the big parades and the lofty palaces and all the glam that goes with it, you know? They want to make a statement, they go put out, you know, the fireworks so we know they're going to talk. God didn't do that. He did quite the opposite. He came in the middle of the night, in the darkest season of the year, completely hidden, completely dependent, and completely fragile. Not the way you would expect a God to come. And yet that's the way he did it, because he wanted to make a statement in letting us know, this is the way to my heart, the small, humble little way. And Mary, she's taking it all in. You know, she was one of the lowly as well. She reflected and she worshiped. The two postures we should have during this, at every Mass, frankly, but particularly during this Christmas season. She treasured all these things and pondered them in her heart. Now, we know this story. We hear it every year. We listen to the readings. We know the story. But I want you to go deeper than just what we think in our imagination of what actually was happening on heaven's side. You know, heaven is doing a new thing. Heaven is bringing forth a rescue mission like none other in the history of the world. Jesus would be misunderstood for the whole 33 years, thinking he was coming as a revolutionary to overthrow the Romans. He had such a bigger plan than that. It was to overthrow sin, death, and Satan. That was why he came. And when I consider the contrast between the first Christmas and today's Christmas, I realize just how far we have wandered, you know? Even in the best of circumstances, Christmas has been hijacked by that rosy, ruddy-faced man and his sack of toys and his little reindeer. For the most part, if you ask children today what's Christmas about, they'll tell you that. And even worse than that is trying to annihilate Christ from the season of Christmas altogether, which is also an ongoing problem. So what are we pondering? What are we fixing our thoughts on? Where is our focus? It needs to be on him. The first Christmas was much more than merry. It was sacred. It was holy. It was filled with wonder, awe, and worship. That's what happened the first Christmas. And that first Christmas was all about Jesus, front and center. So more than having a Merry Christmas, I'm stirred to have a meaningful Christmas that takes me back to the manger that led to the cross. One that mixes the merry with the meditative, one that pairs the fruit of the Spirit with the sugar plums of the dinner table, one that lingers both with lively praise and with humbling prayers, one that harks the heralds but also helps fellow man. Yeah, I want to have a Merry Christmas, but more than that, I long to have a very meaningful Christmas for me and for all of you. Not one that's consumed with consuming or lost in senseless secondary conversations, but one that is fixed on adoration, on celebrating the King, contemplating him, his awesomeness, just like the first Christmas. One that reflects on and gives thanks to God for sending Jesus to be our hope, our true hope, our hope beyond all other hopes. One that is rich with depth and love and relationship, one that is filled with the fullness of his grace, the grace that saves, the grace that restores, the grace that brings new life. There's only one person that does that, and that is Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior. We worship his birth today.